We're back with the final video going over a pull day using this EVOLPOW P3A Power Rack because you can pretty much get just about every muscle you want on this. Already did the leg and the push day, so now we're going over pull day. The first thing we're going to be doing is the deadlift. I like to start off all of my workouts with a compound movement. And the deadlift is one of those I used to never do because I was afraid to hurt my back because I've had back issues, but I prefer doing the sumo style deadlift. It puts a lot less stress on your back. Still works your back, uses a lot of the legs too as well. But if you want to do conventional, that works for you. And you also don't have to do deadlift at all. You can build up your back without deadlifting, but I just prefer to do that because I feel like it helps overall and it will help grow your back. And as we go through this, I'm gonna have everything in the description for this workout, the sets, the reps, other exercises you can do instead of the ones I pick, because there's a lot of things. The main thing when I do a back workout is I want to have one main pulling down motion or vertical and one main horizontal pulling motion. If you're not aware, the vertical pulling motion is going to help with the width of your back and the horizontal is going to help with the thickness. So you want to get both of those in there. And as you'll see, there's not a whole lot of sets in there starting off. You're going to see 2 sets for the deadlift, 2 for the vertical pulling, 2 for the horizontal pulling, and then we're gonna do a superset at the end for the traps and the rear delts. And that's because we're gonna slowly build up over time with your exercises. So this is the 3rd day of a 6-day split. So we do legs, push, pull, legs, push, pull. So you don't wanna go so hard starting out that you're still sore when you get to your next pull day. So when I'm making a workout program, what I like to shoot for is 10 to 20 hard sets per week per main muscle group. So for the back overall, for the lats, what we're looking at is 10 to 20 hard sets, and that is after your warm up. So make sure you're warming up first. But then we move on to those hard sets where you're hitting failure or 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. So that's the easiest way to progress and track your progress over time. For the main exercises, the first 3 we're gonna be shooting for 10 to 12 reps, and that is with control on your lifts. The deadlift, you don't have to control on the way down as much if you're lifting really heavy weight, because that is a lot of extra stress on the lower back, for me at least. So when I'm powerlifting, I pretty much just drop the weight, which I'm about to do a powerlifting competition in a couple days. But if you're doing lighter weight, you can do a lot more slow eccentric, and that will help out your back, and you'll grow those muscles without stressing your back as much. But if you're getting more into a powerlifting thing, you don't actually have to control it on the way down. You just have to let it fall while you're still holding it. So figure out what works for you. Use a light enough weight that you can control it throughout the entire movement. Then after a few weeks of going through, after you get used to the workouts, then you could add another set of deadlifts at the beginning. So we started off with 6 hard sets for your back twice a week. So that's 12, that's between that 10 to 20. And now we're moving on to adding 2, so now it's 14 hard sets. And after a few weeks of that, then move on to adding an extra set for your vertical pulling, then add an extra set for your horizontal pulling. And so you work from 12 sets a week, moving up towards that 20. And then once you do that long enough, you deload, start back over with higher weights, and then you slowly progress up again, building up the volume of your workout. So getting into this, doing deadlifts, 10 to 12 reps. I've been doing deadlifts for about 4 years now. I used to do it every single workout, but it's gotten to where I'm working out all the way up into the 300 to 400 pound range, doing really heavy sets. Like I think I did 390 for 9 before, and ended up hurting my back because I was doing it so much. So I'm actually just doing deadlifts every other workout. So if you do want to work it that way, your first workout you could do deadlifts at the beginning, and then maybe the second one you could take the deadlifts out and just add an extra set on your vertical and an extra set on your pulling exercise. Just see what works for you, how your body responds. Just make sure you're not overdoing it and hurting yourself. Moving on to the vertical, I like to do pull-ups, and the great thing about this is there are so many different pull-up options on the handles. You can do your palms facing in, you can do neutral grip, palms facing out, you can do wide grip. You just figure out what works for you, and you can do variations as well. I keep track of how many I do with different grips, because if your palms are facing you, it's gonna be easier than if they're facing away. And you'll also notice that I'm wearing Versa grips doing this, because it helps a whole lot when you're doing pulling exercises to try to take your biceps out of it as much as you can and focus on using your back. So I put the Versa grips on, I just put my fingers over the bar, and then I'm pretty much locked in. I can focus on just driving my elbows back and really engaging the lats rather than using your biceps and not getting as much out of your lats. And if you're not strong enough to do pull-ups yet, you can always do a lat pull down instead. A lot of times I'll get onto the lat pull down and I'll do my warm-up sets with that, because if I just jump straight onto the bar doing pull-ups, I weigh 180 pounds. So that would be like getting on the bench and just starting to do 180. I'm gonna hurt myself if I do that. So I do use the lat pull down to warm up, and then I move to the pull-ups. But if you can't do pull-ups yet, the lat pull down is a good way to build up that strength until you can do those pull-ups. And with pull-ups, You really want to try to focus on controlling the way down all the way to a dead hang, then pull yourself back up to the top, control it on the way down, slow eccentric. You don't want to just start swinging to get yourself up. If you can't pull yourself up without swinging or anything like that, then you're done. Just take a rest and wait for your next set. And then onto our horizontal pulling. I like to use this attachment and the landmine. So you stick this over one sleeve of the barbell, you stick the barbell into the landmine, and then you load the weights over top of this. And you can do an overhand grip like this, but I actually prefer an underhand grip because I feel like I can pull it into my waist better and really feel my lats. When I do it this way, when I get tired, I almost feel like I start pulling up, and I don't want to do that. I want to pull into my waist and really engage the lats while doing that. And same as all the other exercises, you want to really control the eccentric, let it stretch all the way out, and then pull up, good contraction. Try not to swing up, keep your back stiff, and just pull that weight up. And if it gets to where it's too easy, you're not getting a far enough stretch, you can actually do a deficit, which is what I'm doing here. I put one of those 45-pound plates on the ground so I can stand on it and then stretch even lower down, because the more you stretch your lats, the more you're gonna get out of them, getting a more full range of motion. Another option, instead of doing those, if maybe you do have a bad back, you don't wanna be bending over and supporting that much, you can use the cable system and do cable rows. Just be aware that with this, it's useful, but you can't get as far as a stretch because the foot pad doesn't come out real far. You could just, if you have a rubber floor, put your bench back further and then just stand up, walk backwards and sit down and do it. Just depends on your area, what you have available, but you can do it that way as well for a horizontal pulling motion. And the final thing we're gonna do at the end is a superset. Now we're gonna do reverse cable flies and shrugs. So you've already been working your traps in most of the other exercises. Doing those rows, you can feel them working up here. When you're doing deadlifts, you can feel at the top where you're using your traps to stabilize. But just getting on, we're doing 3 rounds of this. I like to get the cables and stand there, and you just pull them backwards, and we're hitting that rear delt here, which you're also getting a lot with all those pulling motions. With rows, you're using your rear delts. With the pull downs, you're using them, but we're really focusing on just that muscle when we're doing these reverse cable flies. And then move immediately to the shrugs. And what I like to really focus on, a wider grip tends to work better for me. I used to do narrow, but I just didn't feel it as much. I use a wider grip and bend over slightly and let them hang all the way down, and then just pull up, and I pause for a second, then let it down slowly all the way as far as it can stretch. You don't want to just get it and start going through real quick. You want to focus on every exercise you're doing, slow eccentric, really feel it burn, and you will feel it if you do it like that. Like 135 pounds will start to get heavy real quick when you really control it. I've seen guys throw 300 pounds on there and they're going like this and look like they're flopping all over, and it's just, what's the point? You're not even using those muscles, you're just using everything in your body to get the weight up. So focus on hitting those muscles and controlling the weight the entire time. And that is the total pull workout. Again, I'll have different options of exercises you can do down in the description if you don't like various ones. That's a great thing about this rack. There's a whole lot of options when it comes to back exercises of what you can do. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments and I'll try to help you out the best I can there. Hit that like if this video was helpful. Subscribe if you're new, and check out Instagram at Camber Fitness, is where I post all my training progress. And I'll see y'all in the next one.